What's more likely, 2024 draft, round 1? Cardinals take Marvin Harrison Jr. or trade down from number 4. The odds to go 4th overall, Harrison is minus 250, J.J. McCarthy plus 380, and Drake May plus 450. What do you think's more likely for the Cardinals?
Oh, they're drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think they're going to risk that. I mean, we've talked about this at length, right? I mean, it seems like they're framing it around it's the next Larry Fitzgerald. He's a damn good football player. He's got a lot of talent, and of course, he's to me one of the safer picks in the draft too. So I get it from all angles as far as drafting this guy. Like we've talked about, the Neighbors thing is interesting. I think it would throw everybody for a loop if it ended up being Neighbors. And as I've told you, most teams in football have Neighbors as the number 1 receiver. But the Cardinals are hot on Harrison Jr., and we'll see. We're going to find out for sure tonight, but I think they stay there and take him.
Hey, he's not going to be in the draft room in Indianapolis, but he is going to be involved, and he made a point to speak to several members of the media this week. Jim Irsay, he told Mike Chappell of Fox 59 they have great interest in Marvin Harrison Jr. Obviously, that's where Marvin Sr. played.
Right.
And he only ever played for the Colts, and he's a Hall of Famer. They have great interest in him, but they realize it's going to take a lot, but they're not closing the door on it. So, 15-4, it's a big jump. I don't know how much more you have to give up to make that splash. But, if you've got some people in the Cardinals brain trust who feel the same way you do about Harrison, about the concerns with separation, is he truly going to be as good as advertised at the next level? If you could pick up, and I don't know what it would take, another first-round pick, you pick up a first-round pick and maybe something more to go from 4 down to 15. If Irsay decides, I want this legacy player, I want this bloodline player, I want to have back-to-back Hall of Fame receivers, father, son, if you value that and it works, who cares what you gave up to get him? I mean, that's something that I feel like, the basic common sense has to take over at some point. If you really want it and it works, who cares what it costs?
Yeah, no, I hear you there. If you really want it and you're sold that it's going to change your organization, then I'm behind it for sure. I feel like that was just a comment that's made of like, yeah, of course they like the player and they're showing him even more respect because he's like part of the family. I don't see the Colts doing that. They just paid Michael Pittman Jr. the best contract out of any receiver in football, basically. They got Alex Pierce. They got Josh Downs. They got a pretty good group there, right? They're a team that I just can't imagine, I don't want to say wasting, but giving away assets that were for a team that we know is not perfectly built as we sit here right now. I don't imagine Chris Ballard doing that.
How about this, though?
Yeah.
If somebody trades up to number 4 to get a quarterback, which is why J.J. McCarthy and Drake May are on the board there with the 4th pick, and Jim Harbaugh gets his wish. 4 quarterbacks in 4 picks, and the Chargers have the de facto first pick in the draft because they wouldn't be taking a quarterback.
Yeah.
Does Harbaugh take Harrison? He played with Marvin Sr. for 2 years in Indianapolis. Does the Michigan coach take the Ohio State receiver at number 5, or does he go in a different direction? What do you think?
I think he goes in a different direction. I just don't feel like, right? GM from Baltimore, Jim Harbaugh, it doesn't feel like, we're going to pick a wide receiver to start our, new Jim Harbaugh era out here, which we know is going to be predicated on being tough and physical and doing that. I think it's going to start with somebody up front. I will be shocked if it's not offensive lineman, right? It's Alt or it's J.C. Latham. As we discussed a little bit, and I know I've gotten into this in my pod, in the league, we haven't talked about O-line a whole lot, but like Latham and Alt are widely viewed as in a class of their own at the tackle position. They are. So I think, again, I think there's a thought there of like maybe they'll take J.C. Latham, right, because he played right tackle and they have Slater at left tackle. And Latham, of course, I think he's the best tackle in the draft. I think there's a thought that maybe Latham is the guy that the Chargers might take. And it's the Ravens, GM and Greg Roman, and then Latham's this big mauler that kind of would fit a Ravens type of offensive lineman there. So that's the interesting thing there too. But like these guys are so talented, Mike, they can play left tackle or right tackle. It's not going to be an adjustment for either one of these guys, right? I have heard it's going to be Alt at number 5 with the Chargers. So we'll see where that goes, but I think it's definitely one of those two guys.
And There were some quotes recently, I think from the league meetings with Jim Harbaugh at that breakfast talking about offensive line. And it was funny because you had some people on X that were like, this is like he's disseminating these pearls of football wisdom. It was pretty obvious stuff. You have to have a good offensive line. And it can be Jim Harbaugh saying it in his quirky Jim Harbaugh way, but you have to have a good offensive line or you're done. Your offense is not going to do anything without a good offensive line. And those are the guys, and we've talked about this before. Everybody gets so caught up in the quarterbacks and the receivers and the big names and the guys who are going to contribute to fantasy rosters and the guys we're going to be making prop bets on. The offensive line was like, who cares? But none of those other guys can do anything if you don't have a good offensive line.
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, again, it's just like, sometimes we forget. We think about all the sexy players, and then you go, wait. Oh, wait, Kansas City's got a damn good O-line. Oh, right, Baltimore, other team in the Final Four, damn good O-line. Okay, lots of big maulers. Oh, Detroit Lions, unbelievable offensive line, along with the 49ers, who is a really good O-line that I think Shanahan makes even a little bit better. But, yeah, I think your point's right, and we talk about it all the time, too. There's way more defensive linemen in the league right now that can go around and play than there are good offensive linemen. And that's where there is real value in that. And, yeah, anything we've seen Harbaugh do throughout his history has been along those lines. And I just have a hard time thinking that it won't be that. Michigan, all 5 guys going in the draft and draftable guys. I mean, what they had with the 49ers, right? I just think that's what he had with the Stanford Cardinals out there, even when he was the head coach there. Tons of good offensive linemen. I will be shocked if it's not that. It will be all, I think, right? That's what I think. And then I think you'll see Latham go to the Titans. Whoever's left over, the Titans take at number 7, and I think both of those tackles are off the board at number 10 or before number 10, no doubt about it.
Latham, the slight favorite over Alt to go 5th overall. We shall see how it plays
I think it's
out.
the right tackle thing. Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking about when Jim Mora the younger was the coach in Seattle. He had a press conference at one point saying that he wants dirtbags who play offensive line, and he said that's going to end up on PFT. But, you want guys who are physical and tough and mean. There's an element of mean that needs to creep into it. And I know that that's no longer in vogue because this obsession with health and safety, they try to pretend that man-to-man, close proximity violence isn't still integral to the game. But you need to have a badass. You need to have 5 badasses. And you can't just say we got a great left tackle and we got a great right tackle. If your interior offensive line stinks, that's where the defense is going to focus. All it takes is 1 out of 5 weak links, and that's where they're going to push, and that's where they're going to start throwing guys into the backfield. That's what's going to happen. That's where they're going to put the Jadeveon Clowney, who just F's up the play and allows everything else to collapse around it. So you've got to have, if you want to be a contending team, you've got to have 5 guys who can get it done, who have the mentality, who have the will, and who there's that mindset where they don't go out and seek a lot of glory. They're happy to be supporting cast members, but when it's time to go to work, they work, and they can fend off the defensive linemen out there who are so much better collectively than the offensive linemen the NFL currently has.
That's right. I mean, I said the Final Four. You get down to the Final 8, right? You even go there. Go to the divisional round and all those teams. It's all good offensive linemen. It's teams one after another that you go, okay, that's right. I mean, the Bucks, their O-line, pretty damn good. Tristan Wirfs and company, right? I know it's not perfect. I got that, right? I mean, the 49ers beat the Packers. The Packers O-line's damn good, right? I mean, we know that, right? So there's Houston's got a pretty good O-line. Right, I mean, it's across the board. The Bills got a pretty good O-line. It's there, so it's a big part of the game right now because there's so many freaks at the defense end position and defensive line.
All right, next question.
Ooh.
What's more likely, receiver room Odunze falls out of the top 10 or Brock Bowers does? Now, I was told last week the floor for Bowers is 10. From somebody I trust, Bowers' floor is 10. He's going before 10. So for me, it's more likely then that Odunze would fall out. Although there's a chance they both make it. Bowers' floor is 10, New York Jets.
The Jets are where it seems, right? I would go, though, who else before that's going to take the Bowers? I don't think there's anybody else before that you're going to go, oh, I think they're in the Bowers conversation. I don't expect that. I think there's a very real possibility that both of these guys could fall out of the top 10, right? In fact, the more I look at it, the more I feel like if The only way Odunze gets in the top 10 is if the Chargers somehow go receiver right after the Cardinals. And now maybe the Giants, who were at 6 and didn't get to trade to be on the Patriots, maybe they now go, wait, we didn't like any of the quarterbacks. We didn't get Drake May, but now we're going to go Odunze, right? That, to me, is the only scenario I see Odunze going in the top 10. He's a damn good football player. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't. Just by the way things look and shake out. I know a lot of people had the Bears on it at number 9. Maybe that happens. But again, they got 2 very good, high-priced receivers there already. I mean, how many are we going to put there? And, there's going to be some defensive guys on the board too. But the Jets with Bowers at 10 is going to be interesting, Mike, to see where that goes.
Odunze is a nice balance, though, in Chicago to the older.
Yep.
You've got Keenan Allen, who's been around forever.
Yep, and he's a lot like Keenan Allen. Yeah.
You've got DJ Moore, who's kind of middle of the pack in his prime, and then you bring in a young guy. By the time he's at a point where you would even consider giving him a second contract, Keenan Allen's going to be long gone. So you got to have support for that young quarterback, whether it's targets, whether it's blocking. That's what you got to do. So maybe they both go top 10, but I'm told the floor for Bowers is the Jets. That was as of last week. Who knows how many changes have been made to that mindset. Be bold. But, there's been talk about Odunze to the Jets at number 10, but they've got Garrett Wilson. They added Mike Williams. And
they still got Alan Lazard and some other guys to go along with it.
Yeah, and Alan Lazard was a disaster last year, but that's because Rodgers didn't play.
Right.
Lazard may still have something this year. And, people keep saying, oh, well, what does Aaron Rodgers want? Well, they're going to do the opposite of what Aaron Rodgers wants. Part of what's going on this year in New York is whatever Rodgers wants or whatever you would think he wants, that's not what they're going to do. Okay.
Right. Okay.
First defender.
Yeah. I want to get into this. No, let's do it. This is what I actually didn't know this was coming.
First defender drafted inside or outside the top 10.
Yeah.
Pete, you don't have the right numbers there. You got Rome Odunze.
Yeah,
What's the
he's
graphic?
got some.
Put the graphic up.
So it's.
All right, I got it. So here are the guys to be drafted in the top 10. So the first defender to be drafted, basically that's what it is. First defender to be drafted is who? Based on this, it looks like Byron Murphy is the most likely defender to go first.
Everybody had Dallas Turner, right, to the Atlanta Falcons at pick number 8, right? Word on the street is it's going to, you heard me say yesterday, don't be shocked if Byron Murphy gets into the top 10, right? I had some people that I really trust that told me that, right? Byron Murphy, by all due accounts, it sounds like Atlanta might take Byron Murphy at number 8. He's phenomenal. There's no doubt he's one of the 3 or 4 best defensive players in the draft, and obviously Atlanta thinks he's the best if they're going to take him there, right? But that, too, is a part of like that Odunze thing we just talked about. Now you go, oh, wait, Atlanta takes Byron Murphy. Oh, no, now Dallas Turner is available for the Bears, and they can couple maybe a special pass rusher with Montez Sweat in that Eberflus defense where they let the defense ends get a little wider than normal and stuff. That is an interesting little wrinkle. But, yeah, as I think you've heard me say all week, the Byron Murphy is viewed even higher than I expected. Once I released my mock draft and stuff, I had some people text me like, hey, dude, I know you got Byron Murphy at 14. I think there's a good chance he goes even higher than that. And it sounds like that's what's about to happen here.
Byron Murphy, the guy who gave us the phrase, I came out
slow. My man.
They need to get that on a T-shirt with the colors of his next team. I came out swole.
I'll wear it. I'll wear it for sure. He's my guy right there. He was one of my favorite interviews of course, I'm a little biased because he's a Texas guy, but one of my favorite interviews of the Combine this year.
Well, we'll see where he goes. Also, Dallas Turner, we mentioned him. Latu, a guy that many regard as a top 15.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem. There's only 15 spots. There's only going to be 15 guys in the top 15. There's like 25 guys. Hey, he's top 15. There's only 15 spots, and we'll see how they play out.
I think that's what could add to the intrigue here, because I think there is a point in the first round where people go, these aren't really first-rounders, but we have 32 picks, and we got to fill out the round. And I think to your point right there, Mike, that's what could lead to some fireworks, because I think there are, there's guys that are rated as top 15 players and teams got 20 of them, right? And that's what can make it kind of fun to kind of see who goes after who and where in the top 20 exactly.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.